All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring Buckminster Fuller's radical shift from the, quite frankly, exhausting myth of scarcity to a universe of just infinite abundance. We are looking at a monumental work that completely redefines how we view our physical reality, our resources, and our future on spaceship Earth. So here's our roadmap for today. First, daring to be naive. Second, the trap of over-specialization. Third, nature's coordinate system. Fourth, subdividing the universe. Fifth, doing more with less. And finally, number 6, the design revolution. Okay, part 1, dare to be naive. To kick things off, Fuller basically argues that we have to unlearn our rigid assumptions. We really need to adopt a pure exploratory mindset. His overarching moral here is profoundly simple: dare to be naive. He reminds us that local discovery always leads to this beautifully overwhelming cascade of new, previously unrecognized and unsolved problems. Because, if we walk around thinking we already know exactly how the universe works, we completely shut ourselves off from the actual process of discovery. We've got to look at reality without all those prepackaged biases. Just think about how a little kid processes reality. It's purely through fundamental physical senses, way before any societal conditioning sets in, right? They feel the physical heat of crystalline structures, smell the double-bonded liquid states, hear the single-bonded gaseous states, and actually see radiant electromagnetic frequencies. This kind of naive perceptivity, it's pure experimental science. The kid is just gathering raw data, totally unburdened by what they're supposed to see. Moving on to part 2, the trap of over-specialization. But as humanity grew up, we fell into this massive trap of hyper-specialization. If we look back at history, it's kind of wild how this built our current worldview. Around 2000 BC, you've got sophisticated math popping up in Babylon. Fast forward to 1200 AD, and the cipher, the concept of zero, reaches Europe, which totally changes the game for complex multiplication and division. That mathematical leap drove structural engineering and, well, global empires. Then, looking at this closed, finite spherical globe, Thomas Malthus concludes in 1810 that terrestrial resources just couldn't support exponential population growth. Fuller points out that this idea, when mashed up with Darwinism, created a deeply flawed assumption for society that life is basically just a brutal, zero-sum competition for inadequate resources. And this hyperspecialization created these really rigid boundaries, like the supposed line between animate life and inanimate matter. But Fuller argues that science actually completely invalidated that threshold. Virologists discovered that organisms are built entirely out of inherently inanimate atoms. I mean, at the exact moment of death, literally no physical weight is lost. The source posits that this proves life itself, just like human thought, is weightless. It's anisotropic. The physical stuff is just a temporary arrangement. The true reality is entirely metaphysical. All right, part 3, nature's coordinate system. To escape this incredibly self-destructive trajectory of scarcity, Fuller says we need to adopt the cosmos as actual mathematical language. Nature doesn't use those awkward, blocky XYZ grids they teach us in school. She doesn't build in parallel lines or perfect little cubes. Instead, she grows outwardly from nuclei through triangulated structuring. It's all about radiational divergence, energy moving outward, and gravitational convergence, energy pulling inward. It is a completely different, massively efficient coordinate system. At the heart of all this is Fuller's master concept, synergetics. Now, synergy is basically the behavior of whole systems that you just can't predict by looking at any part of the system separately. By truly understanding synergetics, we can tap into the eternally regenerative, 100% efficient system of the universe. We have to stop obsessing over isolated fragments and start looking at the magnificent, interconnected whole. Which leads perfectly into part 4, subdividing the universe. To really grasp how this synergetic whole is built, we have to look at how nature constructs reality. Just ask a child, what is the absolute minimum something you can get inside of? Imagine playing with a flexible tube necklace. If you try to form a cube with those tubes, it collapses instantly, right? Zero structural integrity. But reduce it to just 3 connecting tubes, a triangle, and suddenly, boom, it holds its shape perfectly. That proves the triangle is the absolute baseline of structure. When you expand that into 3D, 4 triangles give us the tetrahedron, which is the minimum structural system of the entire universe. So here we see that primitive unity, the tetrahedron. Nature multiplies energy by progressively subdividing this cosmic unity. Notice the parallel equatorial halving of the tetrahedron here.
It has 3 axes of spin, which gives us 3 equators of halving. It's actually through this exact, highly systematic fractionation that all rational numerical and geometrical values are born. It's literally how the universe scales. And check this out, we can also bisect it perpendicularly, which gives us 6 axes of spin. What's incredible here is that it demonstrates how all geometries in the cosmic hierarchy, we're talking everything from the octahedron to the cube to the rhombic dodecahedron, emerge not from stacking building blocks together like Lego, but from this simple, elegant subdividing process of the original whole. Now, if you take the triangular faces of this tetrahedron and bisect them, you get an inadvertent thirding. Actually, let me rephrase that. These precise geometric splits give us foundational quantum modules, specifically the A, B, T, and E modules. And these aren't just abstract shapes on a chalkboard. They are the fundamental energetic structuring units that literally build reality, step by step, right before our eyes. Okay, part 5, doing more with less. When we translate these geometric truths into actual physical engineering, Fuller argues we unlock humanity's ultimate superpower, achieving drastically more results with vastly fewer resources. Throughout history, we've continually leveled up our structural capabilities. For millions of years, we were totally stuck with heavy gravity-bound stone, which, by the way, can only withstand about 50 pounds per square inch of tension. Then we figured out wood, which floated, so we built great ships, then mass-produced steel in the 1850s. And now we've entered the realm of invisible technology, electromagnetics and advanced alloys, where we are literally pulling ourselves up by our own scientific bootstraps into the sky and beyond. 600,000. That is the pounds per square inch of tensile capability we developed by the 1970s. That is an astronomical leap in invisible structural strength. We are doing exponentially more with less physical matter, and this totally, completely shatters those old Malthusian laws of scarcity, the whole assumption that we just don't have enough materials to support the global population. It is scientifically obsolete. And that brings us to our final section, part 6, the design revolution. Because we can do so much more with less, the source brings us to this incredibly profound realization. The very idea of scarcity is an obsolete fiction. Fuller claims we already have the proven technology and materials to provide a sustainably higher standard of living for everyone on Earth right now. The text outlines that within just 10 years, we could completely phase out fossil fuels by shifting our global industry from the production of weaponry to the production of livingry, essentially harvesting our daily cosmic energy income from the sun and gravity. And we can do this without anyone having to profit at the expense of someone else. As Fuller eloquently put it, further living for all humanity is all cosmically prepaid. The staggering wealth of the human mind, which Fuller views as our only true wealth, by the way, has made the entire concept of earning a living completely obsolete. Think about it. The universe is a 100% efficient, self-regenerating system, and we are already endowed with total life support if we just choose to properly organize it. Which brings us to the ultimate crossroads. The choice is entirely up to us. Will humanity exercise its option for a global design revolution, actually using our minds to embrace the synergetic abundance? Or are we going to let the old, fearful illusions of scarcity and overspecialization pull the curtains on human existence? It's a massive question we all need to answer. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and remember, keep daring to be naive.